Welcome back to Then and Now.
Let's get going with Canada's Music Manager of the Year.
There are very few personal managers who have attained the prominence of Dunbar's Bruce Allen. Along with his partners, he controls a music empire of clubs, publishing, a music record label, and the booking of a vast amount of local talent. You must have guessed by now that all of these achievements took a lifetime of hard work. Well, you're right. Years spent in clubs, small halls, in the front of tour buses, in the back of vans. It was a long, hard road to the top. And with the help of BTO's Randy Bachman and Prism's Bruce Fairbairn, here's the rest of Bruce's story, which has to be called Taking Care of Business.
I was always a record collector. I mean, as soon as Elvis and those people came out, I collected records, I've collected records. I've never thrown out a record since I started. I've kept every one that I've ever bought. I've never traded them. I've never I don't loan them very often. You know, they're like things that I grew up with and I keep. And the neighborhood knew it, and a friend of mine opened a club called Lasseter's Den. He was a partner with Bill Lasseter. He used to play ball for the BC Lions. And he asked me to come up. He said, "You're a music fan. I've got this young band in that I brought in from Hong Kong. They don't know what the hell they're doing in the city. Why don't you help them out, be their manager?"
What was the band's name?
Five Man Cardinal. So anyway, he asked me to take a look at this band, and I did. I introduced myself and said, "I'd like to be your manager." They didn't know no better. This guy who owned the club recommended me highly. I don't know why. And I went out and I got the princely sum of 5% and walked upstairs to his office and jacked the price up $75 so I could justify it. And from there, took that band and worked with them the way that I had gone to shows and seen. And I believe that the best thing about a rock and roll show is the showmanship. I think that James Brown, the Jackie Wilsons, Little Richard, the thing they had in common was tremendous showmanship. So we incorporated a bit of the showmanship into these nice little white guys from Hong Kong and managed to get a tremendous following. And if you look at the club scene in any town, when a club owner builds a club, he thinks he has the nicest establishment. It's his baby. There's only two nice things in the club business. It's building them and counting the money. Yeah. And if you build them and don't count no money, you're going to look around and see what the problem is, because you just built something you thought was great. So you have to look around and you say, the thing why my club isn't full is because I haven't got the right band. So people like Roger Gibson and Harvey Eisen at Farrell's used to come to me and say, "We want to get your band," or Danny Basita at Oil Can Harry's. And I proceeded because I was a great admirer of Jimmy Hoffa at the time. And I thought that if I could control the clubs, I could control the music. So every time a club asked for my band, I would say, "You can have my band if I can have the rest of the weeks would be mine to book the rest of the talent," which immediately meant I had to go out and find some more talent, mold them. And pretty soon I had like 17 to 22 clubs on a string that I would feed talent to, and I would lock everybody else out.
It was really rocking. I mean, to come from Winnipeg, to come to Vancouver and be working with this guy who basically juggled the town and the acts and the clubs and was really the man here. It was very exciting. It was the big time. He came with me on that first trip to Chicago and signed BTO to Mercury Records. And the rest is kind of history. He came on the road with us for, I guess, about 3 years. We were roommates. We roomed together and would talk every night about what this promoter did to us wrong and what that sound system guy did and how to overcome that. And he just took all these things like that and became a great manager.
You got a chance to work with Bruce Allen, of course, because he was managing Prism and you were a road manager. What is it Bruce Allen does that makes him special?
From Bruce, you learn things to do and things not to do, and they're all valuable lessons in themselves. When I was out with Prism, of course, he was coming off BTO, and he had a band in the big leagues, yeah. And we were just still in the minors. So it was, for me, it was just a rush to get out there, meet the promoters that were doing the big shows, be a part of that whole organization out there on the road. You know, you learn an awful lot of what goes on and what makes the business tick. So I was, you know, really grateful to him to be able to get out there and get that end of the business into my head. And, you know, it's something a lot of guys don't have a chance to do, especially producers. I'm a producer now, but you won't find one producer out there now who's been out road managing a band on a major league circuit. And if you keep your ears open, keep your eyes open, you can learn a lot about it. Also, you learn, you know, when not to scream and have a fit, and, you know, how to go around the other way, whereas Bruce will smash through the front door. You know, sometimes you can find a key in your pocket and open it without kicking the door down.
This is true.
But other times, you can't find a key. And I've found myself in a couple of situations where I've kind of gone, okay, this is going to call for the Bruce Allen straight up the middle rush, and you just go for it and beat the door down, and it works like a charm. But you can't do that too often.
There's a certain brashness about Bruce that when he thinks something about you, he tells you. And that's very hard to do. and a lot of people take it the wrong way. But it saves a lot of time in this business.
What do you figure is Bruce's lasting legacy on the music business in Canada in particular?
He changed the world, and certainly the Canadian industry, showing that someone with Canadian smarts and intelligence could compete with the vultures and sharks and crooks in New York, in Hollywood, in London, and everywhere. Because in the Guess Who, I must have had 10 or 11 managers. And we would get somebody who was a friend, who was an accountant or a lawyer, and he was really good in Winnipeg. But when we took him to the big city, he got eaten alive. Bruce never got eaten alive.
So I think we can recognize the fact that there were two Bruces. There was the capital B Bruce with all the spittle and fire and brimstone. How about the quieter Bruce? Has he changed much?
The quieter Bruce has gotten bigger. I met with Bruce about a month ago with the original, what people know as Bachman, Turner, Overdrive, myself, Fred, Turner, Blair Thornton, and my brother Rob, and I saw a return to the pre-famous Bruce Allen. The quieter Bruce is growing and getting more into balance with the capital B Bruce, and it's nice to see.
It's funny, on Tuesday, Prism walked into my office because I own the name Prism. I had given it back to them to go out to earn some money. And Rocket Norton and Lindsay Mitchell were saying, boy, this is unbelievable. I haven't been back in here in 4 years. And I said, you ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till you see who's coming in tomorrow. And the boys walked in, the BTO guys, all sat down, and it was really funny because we all sat down together, and I hadn't seen Randy in 10 years, and Blair hadn't talked to him in 10 years. Fred and Randy talked very slightly, and Robbie doesn't talk to Randy a lot. And we all sat down, and it was like, okay, now where were we? It's like somebody went out to the washroom for a while, and we just waited to get back to the meeting. And away we went, and it was an interesting day of my life, actually. And probably those two meetings were probably the nicest things that have happened to me in the business, because usually bands and managers end up in horrible fallings out and never speak to each other again. Yet Prism wanted me to look after their stuff, and Bachman Turner, BTO, wanted me to look after their stuff. And that is kind of a stamp of approval, like, hey, you never screwed us, you did a good job, and we'd like you to do it again if you don't mind.
Bruce is about to launch a brand new record label, Penta, in May. The first artist, oddly enough, is Raymond May.